ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः।
Friends, welcome back to the study of the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and we are going to start on it today. During my last discourse, I presented before you a bird's eye view of what we have studied in the last 3 chapters. Now, the Bhagavad Gita has 18 different chapters, knitted one after the other. But the beauty of it is so arranged that the previous chapter, at the end of it, is an introduction to the following chapter. That is, the sequence of thought, the sequence of spiritual ideas emanating from the study do not contradict or conflict with each other. They are rather supplementary and complementary to each other. This is something we should remember. Now, the first chapter was a chapter which explained to us however well qualified and well educated we may be from the worldly point of view, from the tertiary point of view, that total education from the worldly point of view is not sufficient enough to give us the strength to face the vagaries, the vicissitudes of life which we have to face while we are alive. Sudden passing away of the dearest and the nearest of mine. Sudden. And I am left shell-shocked. I have no answer why and how this happened. And this is the enigma of not being totally educated. Total education means both aparavidya and paravidya. Worldly knowledge and wisdom, at the same time the knowledge emanating from spiritual experience, the supreme, sublime, unparalleled, unique experience of oneness with the divine. That is a part of human education, and it is only the humans who can reach that. So humans are in a place where, in the modern language, we may say it is a take-off zone. This biological creature, known as a human, through the process of evolution and self-education, has come to such a platform where he has the freedom to decide whether he will stick on to this world with all its vagaries, vicissitudes, transitoriness, uncertainty, or he takes off from this platform so that he can identify himself with the divine, which is his or her true original nature. This is where a human being is. The Gita and other scriptures, not only of Hinduism, but all of the scriptures emanating from the wisdom of the incarnations of the past. They teach you how to take advantage of this platform and take off to be one with God. This is the secret. Now, we say to be one with God. We say it, we listen to it. But we do not pay enough attention as to how to do so. What are the necessary appliances? What are the necessary tools and tackles by means of which we can do so? That is an extensive discussion, an extensive interaction with me and the experience of such realized souls who have left their experience in words for us. We can go through these words, their meaning, and find out the true correct methodology which is applicable to me. Applicable to each one of us separately, because no two humans are alike. Therefore, there cannot be one definite avenue to reach there. It is as liberal, as commonsensical as that. But there is a highest common factor amongst all these methodologies. What is that highest common factor? The highest common factor is we must learn to manage and to use on that management procedure, the managerial technique, the energy that we develop through this life process. And that energy has to be diverted towards that goal, which may be 1,296,000 points on a circumference. Each one will reach the center when drawn in right angles or on perpendicular. They are different, but they reach the same goal. So now, in the second chapter, Sri Krishna had very well and very correctly, in a synoptical manner, mentioned about Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga. What are they? We are very much aware with these four words: Gyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raj Yoga. We are very much used to these words. What are they, dear, actually, from a commonsensical manner? Gyana Yoga is a path which finds out a connecting link between what you are now and what is your true original nature. And how do you reach that? This is Gyana Yoga, mainly based upon sharp, incisive, penetrative intellect and a capacity to analyze things where your hopes and aspirations, fears and failures have no scope. Relentless onward journey based on penetrative, incisive, analytical understanding of the world as it appears to be. It is transitory, it is uncertain, therefore not dependable. So what is dependable in my life? The only item which remains with me throughout my life is the awareness of my amness. I am, I exist. That is certain, that is not transitory, that does not change. It always remains with me. I am, that means I am aware, I exist. Then the object or the goal of this analysis is, who am I? I keep on saying I am, I am, I am. But I don't spend any time whatsoever to find out who am I, what am I. This relentless, non-nonsensical, penetrative, intellectual analysis is gyana marga, gyana yoga. It is highlighting one aspect of your faculty known as rationality. Ultra-rationalism, where my hopes and fears and aspirations and desires have no scope. It is based on absolute analytical rationality. Sankhiyate anena iti sankhya. You keep on hair splitting dissection. Keep on. And get to the truth, the absolute truth, and nothing but truth. This is Gyana Marga for you. Now, dears, by this very definition, we are apt to believe, prone to believe, oh, it is too much for me. My intellect has been utilized in such a manner that it is unable to cope with this procedure and methodology. So for that matter, I need a preparatory lesson, a preparatory class has to be gone through to qualify to be a Gyana yogi. What is that, dear? Karma yoga. What is karma yoga? Karma means activity. I, as a throbbing, living human being, full of life force, I am active all the time. When there is no activity in me, I am declared dead clinically by a physician. So activity and life are synonymous. And we are active. Even when we say, I am doing nothing, what does it mean? I am aware doing something which I call as nothing. I am doing nothing. So life is an unending chain of activity, physical, emotional, rational. And how is my life flowing? My life is flowing in a normal, common manner of a biological entity. I interact with my 5 sense organs, with this world. I gain information. those informations stimulates my desire, my hopes, my aspirations, my desires, my liking and disliking, and my active organs move accordingly. That is what my life is, an unending chain of experiences, or unending chain of experiencing. That's what life is. That's how my life is flowing. Now, here the concept of karma yoga comes in. He says, you have been taught, you have heard, you have understood. What is that? The axiomatic truth that the eternal spirit, call it by any name, Holy Ghost, Spirit, Torah, Atman, Brahman, Alakh Niranjan, Sridharananda Swarupam, call it by any name. But that absolute spirit is in me. But somehow or other, I don't know who plays that trick on me. I forget that and identify myself with what I am not. Atasmin tat buddhi. What I am not in reality, I identify myself with that and I'm happy. My life flows. Karma Yoga teaches you from the kindergarten classes of spiritual pursuit, convert this I-oriented activity into I-oriented activity, but not chasing after desire, as an offering to the divine. So it is Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Gyana Yoga all combined together in Karma Yoga. Why? From the Gyana Yoga point of view, you have accepted the axiomatic truth that truth, reality is eternal, infinite, immutable, therefore absolute. That is a premise that you accept. And as because it is not reachable by your intellect or by any of your faculties, you condense it in a particular form of God or goddesses or incarnations or such a realized soul who happens to be your Guru. In that form. And convert your life into an uninterrupted, endless, emotional, rational, physical interaction with the awareness of presence of the divine. He is in me, I am with him, and he is everywhere. What are you doing? You are sharpening, polishing, purifying, honing your faculties of awareness. Today you are aware of material things. Slowly and slowly, with emotion, with reasoning, with your flow of life activity, you are rotating around the awareness of the presence of the divine in your life. This becomes a means to an end, not an end in itself. They are all, as Swamiji said, direct and independent means to realization. Now, Sri Krishna has said all that and dilated or developed or very well discussed in detail the secret of Karma Yoga after Sankhya Yoga of the second chapter, the third chapter, Karma Yoga. So the way he presents it for our understanding, easy understanding, Karma Yoga is a means by which you qualify yourself to be a gyana yogi. Here, there's a little difference in presentation. Acharya Shankara, he presents, you do this first, you qualify for that, and after you practice that, after qualification, you reach your mukti, bhakti, liberation, emancipation, freedom, grade-wise. He is trying to explain to you in a systematic, graduated manner so that you understand. But in actuality, what happens? In actuality, slowly and slowly and slowly, being aware of the presence of the divine in you and outside you, you are divinizing your personality. That is what you are doing. Whatever you think, so you become. So when you think of the divine, the divinity percolates in your being, enters in you, and fills you up, saturates you. So you are in the process of divinizing yourself. And more you divinize yourself, the hold of the material world on you gets eroded slowly and slowly and slowly. There's no room for them. The cup of heart is being emptied of its dirty contents. The dirty mirror is being slowly and slowly wiped out, mopped out. You are not creating reflectivity. You are not creating divinity. You are wiping out the dirt which is covering the divinity. A time comes when you are totally clear. As soon as the total dirt disappears from the face of the mirror shines forth. You don't have to do anything. It's natural with the mirror. It shines forth. Similarly, your true original nature, the divinity, automatically shines forth. With this point in view, Swamiji says, gyana, bhakti, karma, Raja Yoga. All these four different yogas, rationality, emotionality, ingenuity and willpower, all things blended together into Karma Yoga. A time comes when saturation is complete, the dirt has been totally removed, automatically your true original nature Satchidananda Rupoham Shivoham Shivoham. I am that. Direct and independent means to realization. For ages together, the Karma Yogis and the Gyana Yogis and the Bhaktas, they have been fighting together who is better than the other. It was left to Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda to clarify our vision. Each and every one of the yogas, they are direct and independent means to realization. Now, as we are reading the Upanishads, we will have to be very alert that we don't get caught into that snare, that trap, that this comes first, this comes second, this comes third. That is liberation. For understanding of a person of mean intellect, not an enlightened intellect, this gradation appeals. But in actuality, psychically, what happens to you is, if you are a karma yogi, practicing karma yoga, you will come to a point when all the dirt and scum will be removed and you will see your true original nature blossoming forth with due effulgence. Kaivalya Mukti of Raja Yoga is the same. Bhakti Yoga of the emotionally involved, he loses his identity into the beloved. He doesn't exist anymore. He is one with his God through emotionality. Through rationality, hair-splitting discussion, hair-splitting argumentation, he reaches that goal. So, dear, keep this in mind when we read the Gita sequence after sequence after sequence. So now, let us follow the scriptures. Yes, I am fully involved in this world. I am really unable to practice that hair-splitting methodology of intense, penetrative rationality. I have now performed karma yoga, and slowly the dirt and the dross and the covering is disappearing gradually, and I am gradually being enlightened. Now, the next important point. Sri Krishna was born much before Christ. Say 4,000 years ago. We do not know exact point in time. About 2,000 before Christ. Years before. Whatever it may be. All these 4,000 years, people have been talking about, discussing about, trying to analyze who Krishna is. And ultimately, studying Krishna's life, studying his creation, this Bhagavad Gita, studying his life written by Vyasadeva, the Bhagavatam, we are now convinced Krishna is an incarnation. So for us, it is an accepted fact, a truth, axiomatic truth. But when he was speaking to Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what was his identity? He was Vasudeva, and Devaki's son, Vasudeva Krishna. And he was a cousin brother of the 5 Pandavas. Almost of the same age, few years here and there. That was his identity. So please kindly stretch yourself to that period. You are, if you are of that period, that Krishna is a human born to Vasudeva and Devaki in the prison of Kamsa, and he is the first cousin of these 5 brothers. Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva. Age-wise, hardly any difference, brought up, as it were, together. How come this Krishna, my cousin brother, is talking with so much of conviction, courage, and with authority? How come? Where from does he get this wisdom? How come he's talking like that? When you hear the complete statements of the 2nd chapter, when you hear the complete statement of the 3rd chapter, and you put your brains into it, and you listen carefully, you will be absolutely awestruck, amazed, bewildered. How come my cousin brother, with whom we are brought up together, he's talking with such a deep foundation of wisdom and with such authentic authority? How come? Sri Krishna as he is, which the others all do not know, let us presume we are at that stage, we also do not know. We are also amazed, bewildered, awestruck at the depth of the wise statements that he makes, and the authority that he creates when he speaks. Sri Krishna understands that. And in the first half of the 4th chapter, he discloses his true character. Who he is, what he is, and where from he gets this wisdom, and what is the authentic authority that he displays. So let us now start with this introduction. He says, Chaturtha Adhyaya, I start the 4th chapter. Sri Bhagavana Uvacha. See, here it is said, God himself says so. Not Krishna Uvacha. Because this was recited but written later on. By the time Krishna's authority as Avatara, incarnation of the divine, has been established. So, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, that is, Krishna is speaking. And the author admits that he is Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He is verily the divine. What does he say? Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham abhyayam. Imam abhyayam yogam vivasvate aham proktavan. This is the paraphrase. Let me repeat again and break it up for you. Imam abhyayam yogam. This immutable, unsurmountable, unoutgrowable, cannot be outgrown, abhyayam. eternal, immutable, infinite, absolute. That is the definition of the wisdom, yogam, the procedure. Vivarsate aham proktavan. I have explained it to Vivasvata. Now, proktavan is the catchword. Please underline it. Prakrishta rupena uktavan. I have explained it in such a manner that never, never, never people will ever have any doubt about it. For all times to come, all types of hesitancy and doubt has been just uprooted and thrown out. I have explained to Vivaswan in this manner. Proktavan, aham proktavan. I have said so. Who is that I for us? Sri Krishna. That is, Sri Krishna is explaining to Arjuna, through Arjuna to all of us, who he is in actuality. Though he appears to be Vasudeva Nandana, Vasudeva Krishna, son of Raja Vasudeva, known as Vasudeva Krishna, son of Vasudeva is Vasudeva, and his own original name is Krishna. I have spoken to Vivaswan centuries or millenniums before this situation in Kurukshetra. And how have I spoken? This Abhyam Yogam, this immutable, eternal, infinite, absolute wisdom, I have passed on to Vivaswan thousands of years ago, and I have spoken to him in such a manner that there is no trace of doubt, no trace of hesitancy, no trace of suspicion of the wisdom. The quantum of the wisdom remains. I have absolutely uprooted the possibility of questioning this wisdom. And Vivaswan, he spoke to Manu, Manu spoke to Ikshaku, Ikshaku spoke to his child, son, and that is how the lineage of wisdom has come to you today. And because during this huge long period, humans with their dirty mind, or the mind which is not pure enough to understand and admit, they have compromised this wisdom with their understanding, and all that has happened is that wisdom has slowly and slowly and slowly lost its hold on human society. That is what he will tell you in the next shloka. The first shloka tells you two things. As you have seen in the Mundaka Upanishad, the first shloka tells you where from the wisdom of this Upanishad has come to the present day human being. He spoke, Swayambhu spoke to so-and-so, he spoke to his child, he spoke to Bharadwaja, Bharadwaja spoke to his son. And that is how it carries on. Angira is the person who is teaching you the Upanishad. Where did it get it from? He says the lineage. It is not a woolly-headed idea of a human. It is actual divine wisdom transferred to humans by whom? By a person who is divine in his own nature, who is never unaware of his divinity. Atandra Chaitanya, his Chaitana, his awareness never goes to sleep. He never forgets who he is. With that behind him, he functions, he acts, and leaves that wisdom which is eternal, which cannot be outgrown. Anatikramya satyam, which cannot be outgrown, he passes on that wisdom to human society. That is how the lineage here is also being expressed. Now he speaks something which is very tangible, concrete and real. Let us see what he has to say in the second shloka. Evam parampara praptam idam rajarshayo viduhu. Evam parampara prapyam. Parampara means handed over by the previous generation to the succeeding generation. The father teaches his son. That son, when he becomes a father, he teaches to his son. This is known as parampara, traditional, generation after generation after generation. Evam parampara praptam imam yogam, that methodology that I have taught, karma yoga and raja yoga, karma yoga and gyana yoga in the first 3 chapters that I have taught, rajas and rishis, both of them accepted that wisdom. And they cultured it, cultivated. A Raja, that's a worldly emperor, who is the emperor of the world, his own empire. He, by this wisdom, this yoga, becomes a Raja cum Rishi, Rajarshi. He is a knower of the self, but he is a karma yogi, and India has enough of his example in history. Janaka, Ashghosha, and etc., Ashapati, and etc., etc., etc. Even Swami Vivekananda is a Rajarshi. He is a Rishi, and he can build up an empire of spiritual wisdom. Evam para praptam imam raja rishyor viduhu. They know. Vidu means they not only knew intellectually, they experienced it as their true original nature. Sakalena iha mahata yoga nashta parantapa. He is addressing Arjuna as parantapa, a person who has total control over his enemies. His obstacles, all that wants to distract him. He has mastered that control on himself where no distraction works on him. He is known as Parantapaha. He is inspiring, encouraging Arjuna with these words. What is he saying? Sa Mahati Yoga. This yoga, use the word procedure for it. This technique, this procedure, this methodology that I had taught Vivaswan and which has come down to you from generation to generation to generation, this excellent wisdom deteriorated during point of time. Sakalena iha mahati yoga nashtaha. Nashtaha means it has almost spoilt itself, destroyed itself. That is why it is time enough at this season, the season of this Kurukshetra Yuddha, at this situation. I think it is proper for me to rehabilitate the lost value of that spiritual ideology. So in the second chapter, he says how it slowly and slowly degenerated, disoriented itself, and slowly how it almost destroyed itself. How does that destruction come? Let us analyze it so that we do not allow that destruction to work in me, in us. We have a tendency of compromising. Compromising is nothing but degenerating, destroying the absolute character of truth, because I want to compromise it with my egoistic thinking with the absolute pure thought. Oh, it is all right. Oh, it's all right. That is how first step of degeneration takes place. There are two things of life we should remember. This is one of our very senior Swamis told me. Let me share it with you. He said to me, young boy, I had just joined a couple of months. In your life, you will have principles in your life. You are going to be a monk, a Swami. You have a principle of life. Now, that principle has two aspects. One principle is whatever may happen to you, it is not compromisable. Non-compromisable in principle of your life. Whatever the price you have to pay, you pay. Non-compromisable principle of life. The others are compromisable without causing any harm to you. Rather, it may help others. Non-compromising principle and compromising principle. What is it? You want to do good to others. For that matter, you find you have to beg for something, ask for something, not for yourself. You beg of others, give it to him. Begging for yourself, however the noble it may be, is not permissible. But here, as you are seeing the divine in the others, and you are begging for him, not for yourself, but yourself is concerned because you have decided to help others. Helping others is a principle of life. But to beg for that, it's not. But you compromise, you keep yourself clean, take it. You don't get attached. So the principles of life are being compromised without hurting the non-principle of life. These are very subtle ideas. It is you and your conscience which will decide for you. Don't stifle your conscience. Let him have the full freedom to say yes or no. and be guided by that. If it says no, don't. If it says yes, follow this procedure. You do not be attached. You be an instrument of this whole process of activity, knowing you seek from God, you help God in two different places. You are only a conduit. Principles of life which are non-compromisable, and activities of life which are compromisable. So that is how he says, Sa mahati yoga iha kalena mahati nashta. It has degenerated, deteriorated, disoriented itself in the flow of time. Why? The practitioners of this principle were not alert and aware. Let us move to the third shloka, and that will be complete. The third shloka says, Sa eva ayam maya te adya yoga prokta puratana. Sa eva ayam puratana yoga maya prokta. This old time, untarnished, unpolluted spiritual wisdom, which is puratana, satya sanatana. It is reality, it is truth, it is eternal. Today, I am going to tell you proktaha. Again, prakrishtena ukta. I will speak to you in such a manner where there is no possibility of any doubt, hesitancy or suspicion. Who? I am going to tell you that. Why? Why he has chosen Arjuna for it? Bhaktosi me shakhacha iti rahasyam hi etat uttamam. Etat uttamam rahasyam. This mystery, it is really mysterious, beyond the understanding of a common level of intellect. You need a subtlest of the subtle force of understanding, medha, shastrartha, shukshma, artha, darshina. That is medhavi. What is medha? That aspect of your memory which is so polished and pure, the subtlest of the subtle suggestion of spiritual life. Subtlest of the subtle suggestion of spiritual life, you get hold of it. Not only you get hold of it, you retain it and you use it when it is required. That is medha for you. He says, I know you have great faith in me. You are devoted to me. You have great faith in my wisdom. That is why you are listening with patience and absorption of what I have been telling you up till now. I have tested you in point of time. You are my friend. You are my devotee. You depend on me. Therefore, Arjuna, I have chosen you to be the mouthpiece of the whole humanity, to listen to me again, and I'll revive the old wisdom. And today, I'll explain it to you in a manner that there'll be no room for doubt, hesitancy, or suspicion, because I'm convinced you are worthy of this wisdom. So with these three shlokas, he starts the concept of Avatar Bhada. And what is this concept of Avatar Bhada? The philosophy of incarnation of the divine. It's a fact of history. You can't say no to it. See, 2000 years a boy was born, an immaculate conception to Mother Mary, and see, the whole world is swayed by his thoughts and ideas. The world not only cannot forget him, the world is remembering him over and over and over again and looks at him to save his children from sheer destruction. It's a fact of history. Abraham, Moses, Rama, Krishna, all of them, they are facts of history. Don't think it is a woolly-headed idea. This is a fact of history. Having created the world, he wanted his children will come back to him to meet the Father in heaven. That was the game plan. And the children have gone wayward. So it is for him to come back over and over and over again, as required, as and when required, to help his children to find back their way to their Maker in heaven. That is the game plan. And this is what Sri Krishna will teach now. Who he is, what he is, why he is born, what is the purpose of his born, why he is reciting this Gita, and why he has selected Arjuna for this purpose. Thank you, dears. Thank you ever so much. We'll continue our study during our next session. The fourth chapter, which explains to you who he is and why it is required for us to understand who he is. Thank you, dears. Thank you ever so much.
Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.